Japanese saw, American saw. Which one's easier? Which one cuts better? Which one's better all around for joinery woodworking? Well, we're going to look into that. Stick around. Hey, welcome to the shop. We are here in beautiful downtown Canterbury. The sun is still out. Well, it's light out anyway. And we're glad to have you here in the shop with us.
Hey, everybody.
That's the camera lady. She jumped the gun. And I'm Tom McLaughlin, and this is Epic Woodworking, our live stream. And you can check us out more deeply on epicwoodworking.com. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content, and let's get into it. All right, this is a topic I've been thinking a lot about lately because we just finished a couple beginnerish classes where we made a shaker end table with a drawer, and we do dovetailing in that course, and so it's hand cut. For a lot of people, it's their first time, and this is really, I'll come clean right at the beginning. This is my favorite dovetail saw. It's a Lee Nielsen American dovetail saw. And lots of times that's what I recommend, not this saw, but cheaper varieties, and also the option of getting a Japanese saw. Well, I have tried Japanese saws over the years. I have one. This is my old tried and true. It's a little bent up. And I have used them back when we were in North Carolina, so that was more than 25 years ago, cutting dovetails, and I enjoyed them, and I'm not sure what got me away from it. I think it was that I bought this right at the time Lee Nielsen bought Independence saw. This is one of the early saws that says Independence on it. So maybe somebody could date that. Are there any aficionados in here who know the value? Not the value, but the date. Anyway, I started using this. I just love the classic tradition of it and all. So this is what I've been dovetailing with. But I notice people struggle. They struggle with these saws, trying to use them for the first time. They struggle, I'll say right up front, more than I've noticed them struggle with the Japanese saws. So it got me thinking. Let's do a side-by-side test. I want to just do some real cutting and come down to it, like which saw is better, which is better, what are the benefits of each, okay? So let me just talk a little bit about what distinguishes these two types of saws. This Lee Nielsen is considered a dovetail saw, meaning it has a ripped tooth. It's usually ripping along the grain, along the line of the wood. Also, that type of tooth you'd find on tenoning saws, ripped teeth. It's got a 15 point per inch, so it's not going to be apples to apples in this because the Japanese saw is a finer tooth saw. But this is a nice amount of teeth, 15 point per inch, and if I had a magnifier, I'd show you it's a ripped tooth all the way down there. It costs $175 right now, so you could have one of these bad boys. That is not what I pay, but I probably pay the equivalent in value. It's made in Maine, USA, good old USA. I've been to the factory, and it's a worthwhile trip. You should check it out sometime.
Yes,
it's
so nice to go there.
It's 15 inches long overall. That's with the handle. The cutting area is 9 inches long. I'm sorry, this is 9, but the new one, I noticed they're actually 10 now. So you get more for your money. And the thickness of the steel of the blade here is 20 thousandths of an inch. Okay, that's pretty thin. It's held firmly by this solid milled brass back. So that's one of the classic looks of these, not just American saws, but I've been saying American, but they're Western saws. They're European type saws as well, considered Western style. And this one will cut a depth of 1 5/8 inch. The teeth have a slight set on them when they come. They have 3/1000ths of an inch set. So what you end up with is more than the 20/1000ths of an inch of the blade back here. You end up with, what would that be? 26/1000ths of an inch kerf. So it's pretty thin, right? It's cutting a pretty thin kerf, but it's held firm by that brass mill back. It's made of Swedish steel. It's got a Swedish steel blade, and the teeth are hardened to 50 to 52 Rockwell hardness factor. For all you geeks out there. I don't like to geek out that much, but it is high carbon steel. So they will stay sharp for a while, and they can be resharpened. And there are lots of videos and tools for sharpening like that. I'm not into that, you know. I know there's other guys who do that. At Lee Nielsen, you can buy a pack that has 5 practice blades, just like this. So you can practice sharpening the teeth. But if you get good at it, hey, it's worth it, right?
Cool.
To sharpen your own saw and all that. Now,
And that handle is
the handle's lovely.
beautiful.
It is. I mean, that really sells you though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it fits your hand so well. It's meant for only 3 fingers. So don't go trying to get all your 4 fingers in there and go, oh, they made it too small for me. It's meant for only 3, and your index is supposed to go on the side, and that helps align when you saw. It's a lot more comfortable too.
I remember
Fits
they're very
right-
particular about those handles. I remember seeing the pile that they rejected because they didn't match the standard.
They had a tiny bit of pitch in them.
Yeah.
If they have a little streak of cherry pitch, they don't put them in the finished handle.
Yeah, so nice.
That's it. I love the saw. It has a nice little home up here in my tool cabinet. It gets the most use of my Lee Nielsen saws. We've cut a lot of dovetails together. but am I going to keep recommending the saw? I don't know, because check this out. Let's see. This is much lighter, but these are quite impressive in many ways, I must say. This is a Dozuki saw. It's spelled D-O-Z-U-K-I, and this is a shortish one. It's only 150 millimeter blade here, just about 6 inches long. Here's the equivalent. This is a Z saw, Z brand. By the way, we have the links for these saws in the notes there. This is the 150 millimeter. I just wanted to show you that because it's my new one. This one's beat up. It's got a lot of chipped teeth, and it needs to be replaced. And I'll talk about that in a second. But these are made in Japan. And this particular model right here has not 15 teeth per inch, but 25 teeth per inch. And if I zoomed in, they're very sharp. They're more pointy and angular than the rip tooth configuration, but they cut on the pull stroke. They're angled in, so when you pull, you're making the actual cut. Very thin blade, but not surprisingly that much thinner than the Lee Nielsen. They're actually, oh, sorry, I went out of order there. I do want to talk about the thinness in a second. I do want to mention the price. The Lee Nielsen was $175. This you can get for $27.99. $27.99. The 240 millimeter version, which is this size with the 25 teeth per inch, is 39 something. We have that link. Then they have a 21 teeth per inch, not the 25, that they recommend more for hardwoods. So we'd be getting closer to the 15 here. And that one is $44.90. So we have all those links if you're into trying out a Japanese saw. But anyway, it's a 16 inches long. This one's 16 inches long. It's a 6-inch blade, as I mentioned. This one is overall, it's 21 inches long. I actually cut a little off my handle, I think, so I could fit it in my cabinet at one time. And the cutting length is 9.5 cutting area, same.
You don't have the hardwood one in front of you, right?
No, I actually just ordered that, so I'm going to have that one to show. But it's the same saw. It's a Z saw. It just has a little different teeth configuration. Okay, so the blade, the steel, it's thinner. This is 20 thousandths. This steel on the Japanese saw is 12 thousandths of an inch thick. How thick is that, you ask? Well, take one piece of green tape, take a second piece of green tape, and put them together. And how thick that feels how thick that blade is.
What?
It's incredibly thin. I could put the micrometer on it, but that's how thick it is. And then the teeth also have a set. I measured them with the little gauge there, and it appears to be about the same as the Lee Nielsen, but this being about 3,000. So the overall kerf it leaves is about 18 thousandths of an inch. So what you end up with is about 8 thousandths of an inch difference in kerf cut with these two saws. So, which would be 2 pieces of manila or regular masking tape. All right, so this one does not cut as deep. This small guy, it's really only 1.25 inches to 1 3/8 inches in depth. It gets deeper here. This one is very compatible with what you'll get with a Lee Nielsen. So if you get the larger saw, there's no issue with the depth of cut, as can become something with this guy here. It's high-speed steel. The teeth are impulse hardened, they say, which means they're flash heated, and they are harder than the rest of the metal. So they stay sharp quite a while. But they're very thin and more pointy, and with that hardness, it makes them a bit brittle. So they do break, and you'll be missing teeth every now and then. They're like hockey players. They're like hockey players. They will be missing teeth. However, the great news about this is you can replace the blade for very little money. Like if you want to sharpen this yourself, it's going to take you a while. But with this Japanese saw, watch this. You just turn it upside down like this, and you hit it on something, and you just bend it around, and there's your blade.
Wow.
You can get a brand new one for like 13 bucks. So less than, and you just bring it in, and you slip it right back in the groove and hook it around and start pressing it in, and then you put it back on its back, and that's it.
Wow.
You just changed the blade. You got a brand new saw. So if you like your handle, everything's good to go. Now you can see on this one, there's a little buckling. See how that's user error really. I brought it out too far and pushed forward, and it buckled. Now the reason it buckled is because I was out beyond this bar here, and it was when I was going back forward. This is why they can be so thin, because they cut on the pull stroke. Okay, so they're under tension when you're cutting, and that's the genius of it. So every now and then, if you go a little hard and you're out too far on it, you may get a little buckle like that. But again, not too expensive to change the blade. All right, so let's get down to business and do some testing, shall we?
Do you wax the blades, Tom?
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, it's actually a good idea to put a little wax. I do put a little wax on the saws because there's so little set that the actual blade of the saw helps guide the cut. And that's very important to make accurate, straight, true cuts. So just to start off with, I have done some experience, and I'm going to show them to you in a minute. But I just made some parallel lines here. They're about 1.25 inches long. And I squared them over the top. Now, I know that if I went slowly here and I made some cuts, I've got the lines toward me because I need to see what I'm doing, but I'll show them to you after I'm done cutting. If I just go slowly here with this saw, I know I could make pretty good cuts with both of them and they would look good. So I feel like if I'm going to try to go pretty fast, and I'll make 4 cuts with the Japanese saw, this little guy, right? Now, the bigger one would be more aggressive and a more coarse tooth would be as well. But I'm going to just make them fast because I figure at higher speed, the weaknesses of this would show up greater, right? Or my inability to use it. So remember, it's cutting on the pull stroke. I'm just going to push a little forward and then start going. Okay, I'm getting a little vibration because I'm high on the vise, but trying to square across the top of the cut and straight down. I could tell I drifted a little on that one. Okay, that was 4 with the Japanese saw. Now we're going to be cutting on the push stroke, and this kind of mental, if you're not used to it, it's a little different. So I'm going to draw it back, but here we go. I'm going to push forward. Whoop, I'm getting a little stuck there. This is the thing, the more coarse tooth isn't fair. It's going to stick, it has potential to stick more. But with this type of saw, it's always a lighter pressure to get it started. Ready? Here we go. See how much faster that is. Whoops, I drifted on that one. Okay, so let's take a look, see what happened. I don't know if you can see these, but these are my Japanese saw cuts. You can just barely see I'm touching the line all the way, those two. This one just slightly up, this one off a touch more. Now I'm with the American saw, a Western saw. That one's right on. This one starts to drift, comes down, drifts, drift. So I'm not as accurate on the push as I am on the pull, which surprised me because I have a lot more experience with this. But when you're cutting, I'm obviously not cutting as fast. Usually with dovetails, you're only counting the first, half an inch, 3/4 at the most. So you only have to be straight for that long. Let's try a little stronger test. This is 5/8 cherry. So that was white pine. So that was quite soft in comparison. Let's just give this a little saw cut. Again, I'll start with the Japanese. And ready, go. Get it on here. Okay, American saw. Light. Okay, 2 cuts each. Let's see what happened. Okay, Japanese saw cuts look actually perfect. They just took the line all the way down. I don't know if you can see on the camera, you can see how the kerf is just slightly thicker, slightly wider.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter that much. But both of those cuts are very good too. I thought I was going to look and see they drifted. Just at the end, a tiny bit. But those are very square. Across the top, we're quite square too for being so fast. So those were actually quite good, both of them. But let me show you some cuts I did a little earlier. And this was for time. I set it up. I made 7 saw cuts each, okay? Here's my Eastern saw, Japanese saw. 7 cuts, 37 seconds. 1.25 inches deep, squared across. This is a heavy, this is 9/16, I'd say. and pretty good, very true. And I was going fast to try to see if it would be a problem. Then I did the same. This actually took 4 seconds less with the Western saw. And look, I have a little bit of drift issues here. One there, and the rest look pretty good. And a little unsquare on this guy and that one, but the rest look pretty good. So if I was just looking at outcome, quality, I would have to give it to the Japanese saw. Again, that is actually what happened. And then I did it on the Cherry, and I had a similar result. Again, this is the Eastern saw. Took me 35 seconds to make 4 cuts in the heavier Cherry. But those were really spot on. And that was going fast, not even trying to. And then the Western saw, you can see some wavering. Actually, it was coming down nice, and then they would just slightly bend to the left, very slightly. But pretty good cuts, all in all. And that took less time, 6 seconds less with, as you'd expect, the more aggressive Western saw.
Can you talk about the muscle aspect, how much it's requiring of you with each of the strokes? Is it different?
Well, when you're someone of my strength, it's difficult to measure
I figured
that.
that was going to be a setup of some kind.
No, I'm sorry. No, you can feel, it's a different feeling because of the push or the pull, but there's more resistance the less teeth, as you'd expect. So this, as I said, was not an apples to apples test because we have fewer teeth, and it's going to be slower with fewer teeth, but you're going to get a smoother, easier cut. I'm eager to try the 21 teeth per inch saw that's coming that is just like this one. These are both 25, which I said, and this Lie-Nielsen is 15.
Tim says that someone once told him that the accuracy of the cut has more to do with where your feet are in relation to the cut. Does that make sense to you?
Maybe. I think it's about, it is about alignment. It is true. I'm not sure it's just your feet. I think it's so much of it is what I realized I was doing unconsciously, because in talking to students the past couple weeks, a lot of it is how you're sighting the position of your saw, especially when you're sawing a slanted line and you want to cut across. I'm always tilting my eye and the saw until those 2 lines that look at angle to each one another, until they appear straight. So there is a sight line when they appear straight, and that's where you're positioning your saw to make the cut. You have one going down like a dovetail, one at an angle, and one square across the top of the board, and you're sighting that and making the cut. So that's sort of body position. I do feel comfortable on my feet. I don't know if I do that unconsciously, so I can't tell you. I always just have a good stance, and my left foot is in front, and I'm sighting it and aligning. Everything's aligned with that cut to make a true cut. And that comes with practice. I think setting up a board like this and making a bunch of lines, we do this in classes, we'll make lines at angles, squaring across the top, just starting to get the feel of your saw. So definitely that's a big factor. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to show one other thing. Let's do a quick little dovetail cut. These are, I don't know if we want to get into demoing those cuts, but these are 2 dovetailed ends that I just cut before, and I have a Western saw and the Eastern saw. And what?
Turn off that light. It's a little. Thank you.
And quality of cut was almost equal. I mean, I'm so used to the Lie-Nielsen saw, and it took exactly the same time, 6 minutes, to mark, saw, and clean out each one.
Wow.
So, pretty clean result. And if I was transferring that, let's just do one of them. So let's take the Western saw. Maybe I'm just going to bring it, put it in the vise. Let's drop it down my vise here. I'm going to get it level with the top. All right, so I'm just lining up flush with the bottom here and getting flush here. Now I'll get my marking knife.
Do you notice anything in the difference of the grips being a component of accuracy, Tom?
I'm not sure how much that's factoring, but yeah, it's a very different grip. I didn't even talk about that. Thanks for mentioning it. You've got the longer straight handle of the Japanese saw and the comfortable ergonomic grip of the Western saw, which you align your finger down the top. But I don't know. I just naturally hold it again with my hand. I don't notice. It's very comfortable. Maybe that does have something to do with it. If you're a golfer, maybe you're into that. But I don't know. Somebody may chime in on that. So then we're scribbling the waist here. I'm just going to bring this up. And I need this light on briefly. I'm just going to square these lines down. And we'll make one final cut. We'll compare and see if we get any difference.
Daniel's asking, does the Japanese saw stay sharp for very long end grain cuts?
I have found it does. It stays sharp quite a while. Like I said, if you can always replace the blade when it does dull up. I've had that one on that saw really for too long, I should have replaced it by now. Hold on a second. So I just put the pencil in here. And always a good habit to scribble on the waist. So I'm always trying to remember to do that because this is different. Okay, now I'm going to saw across the top. And I think I'll do this right half. I'm going to do this right half. This will be east. I'll call it east, and this will be west. Maybe we'll see how it turns out. It probably shouldn't be too bad if I don't make any error. Okay, so I'm going to use the Japanese saw here, and I'm going to saw on the waist side of the line. So this is so fine that whenever I saw to a knife line, I let the saw just barely touch from the waist side of the knife line. So that's what I'm going to do right here. You can't see it on that side, but it's on the other side of the saw. And then I'm going to go straight down. I do feel very comfortable with the alignment. It is very natural. That's why I think, I didn't practice much at all, and then just made those cuts, and I was getting straighter, better cuts with a saw I was unfamiliar with. So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to get on the waist side of the line again. Okay, now we'll go to the Western saw. Again, I gotta get a good. You can hear how much more coarse it is, right? And then it's wanting to stick. So light. Same thing here. That's it. Now I can get out that waste with the coping saw. Boy, it's tough to see. Let me get this down here. Okay, that's better. Back the other way. Okay, let's do a little chisel work. And I got my 3/4 inch chisel here. It's about all I can take. Just gonna go halfway. This is pushing it to use this, but it works. So I'm just going right to the marking gauge knife line. Technically, that knife line was cut with a cutting gauge type style of marking gauge. And it gives you a beautiful knife line. I'm going to go to a 1/2 inch chisel. Feel it right in the knife line. Just go halfway. Last one. This is very similar. If this is giving you a hankering to try to make a drawer, this layout of joinery and dovetails is very similar to the course we just finished that we have a video course of the shaker end table with the drawer. So you could get the full-size plans and video tutorial if you want to tackle a drawer. But stick around to the end to hear which saw I recommend. Okay, now I just got to tune this up a little bit. Boy, all those saw cuts look great. I can see the what could go wrong. This is the part you just have to clean right to the base of these pins. See, right now we're forming the pins. We're cutting the sockets for the dovetails to fit into. So it's like this positive negative space you're always dealing with dovetails that can get confusing. And let's get the last one right up in that tooth there. Okay,
Always
looks
amazing.
good. All right, so let's see. This is the east and the west. Let's see if it fits, first of all. That does fit. And we can push it down in.
That's great.
Let's take a look.
As usual,
It looks pretty nice.
spot on.
One teeny little, that could be user error, not the saw. Tiny little gap there. And that would be on the west side. Look at, there's little pencil lines there that you're seeing, but overall, that's a pretty nice one. What's nice about,
Hold it still, hon. There you go. Nice.
those are pencil lines, not gaps there, but the only tiny little gap is right there. But one thing that happens when you put the glue in the joint, it's similar to water, well, on the joint like this. So let's put a little water on there. we're going to accentuate the appearance of the dovetail. Maybe wash off some of that pencil. And you get what I like to call a healing factor. Instantly healed. And they come together. So I can't really say which one performed better there. Both saws are great. So you can't really see a difference. I did do some half blinds before you got here to test. And here I've got the Eastern saw. This is the Japanese saw. This is half blind, so you have to chop out those sockets. And here's the Western. I'll put it over here. And those look very similar. There's one tiny little gap right there. It's very similar on the Eastern saw. Again, so those would be fine and acceptable. I can't really see a discernible difference. So can't really tell exactly which one is going to cut better for you. But in summary, this is a darn good saw for the money. All right. Here's my advice. If you're a beginner or a seasoned woodworker, you can't go wrong having one of these. In fact, I would recommend you start with one of these if you're a beginner, because starting the cut, the work that you have to put in, it's so effortless. It is such an easy cut because of the amount of teeth, because of the sharpness of the teeth, and the thinness of the kerf. You're removing less material, so there's a lot less resistance. So there's a greater kind of control. You feel a sense of mastery faster than you will with an American Western type saw. So it's not bad either that you can get like 6 of these for one of these. But you can only get like 4 of these in the hardwood style that are coming. That's like a $45 saw. 4 for this, right? Just about, right? So anyway, I just was surprised, and I have to ask forgiveness from past students that have started with a Western saw. And I've had many students in here, and I regret not pushing more to get a Japanese saw. So please forgive me. And I want to tell you now to go out and get one of these saws, right? Don't quit woodworking. You know, sometimes the instrument is causing the struggle more than your abilities, all right? Because it is just a little longer learning curve, I think, to use a Western saw. They cut great, they're beautiful, my favorite. But these are awesome too, yeah. Okay? So I cannot say, I just need to encourage you to go get one. If you're new to woodworking, this is an awesome saw. Great cost-effective way to get a great dovetail rip cut saw. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed that. I was trying to give you the real deal on working with saws. And if you do like this content, please consider subscribing. Helps us out more than you know. And check out our content at epicwoodworking.com for great courses that go more in depth.
Yeah, we'd love to see you there.
This type of thing.
Yeah.
What's that?
We'd love to see them there. Yeah.
Absolutely, especially in the neighborhood. That's where it's happening. All right, everyone. Well, thanks again for spending a little time with us. On behalf of the camera lady and myself,
yes.
Look forward to seeing you next time, right back here on Shop Night Live. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thanks so much.